morning, everyone. Yeah. How are you doing? Hmm? Great. So, can somebody tell me why did you join Super Core Batch? It is an integrated program. Okay. Then. Okay. So it will give you discipline, or it will make you more disciplined. Right. And then one more point you said. Yeah. How do you know this? Like, did somebody tell you for part of core batch? No, that is exactly going to happen actually. So what she told that you will not realize how days are passing by. You will be so much immersed in this whole process of preparing for every test that you will not have time to think about anything else. So that is one very good thing about core batch, right? Any other reasons why you joined? Others? Hmm? Mentoring. Yeah, right. Okay. So in core batch, every test will be evaluated. So we try to do it within 4 or 5 days, and then there will be a dedicated mentor. The mentor is usually somebody who is in service, right? So I have taken EOL and preparing for the IAS, but they are full-time mentoring here. Okay, right. Any other reason? Hmm? Intense practice. Good. Why do you need intense practice? So is it difficult to do intense practice on your own? Hmm? It's very difficult, right? Why? What is the reason? Distractions. There is no accountability. Good. Have you ever thought about that? That we need somebody, someone, some kind of plan to discipline ourselves. It's very difficult to do it on our own, right? Can somebody give me the reasons why? Hmm? Like why lethargic? Why can't you do it on your own? No, I'll address about core batch things, but warming up, no. There is no deadline. Okay. No, it not only about UPSC preparation, even in day to day. So some of you might wanted to go to gym, like few days you go and then you stop. Some of you do meditation for few days and then stop. Like the tendency is there always. Uh, no, precisely that is my question. Why? Why you make timetables and then stop pursuing them? Why you promise yourself that you are going to change yourself, do something good and then stop doing it, and then you make new year resolutions, right? So to be broken. So why? In the middle you forget why you are doing it. Okay. Okay. No, that is the question. Why do you need somebody to oversee what you are doing? Is it that is how we have been brought up since childhood? Is that is how the education system has molded us? Like just curious. Boys, what do you think? Jayant? That is one of the causes. So you tend to make unrealistic timetable, a very ambitious timetable that you are all pumped up while making the timetable that you will follow it in letter and spirit, and then yes, deviation happens. Okay. So welcome to core batch. So welcome to super core batch. Any idea why we have named it as super core batch? It is less duration. Okay. So earlier, even now also, what happens in the core batch before super core batch, it is open for everyone in the sense that anybody, non-OGP students and those who are even freshers who might have done the self-study, they could join it. So super core, which usually starts in October and November, is open for students who have done the coaching, who have done some amount of answer writing, who have written mains and not satisfied with their mains performance. So in a way, it is kind of a booster for you to improve your marks from mains perspective. So the earlier core batch also does the same thing, but it's more about introduction to answer writing, for everyone. But this is more about, because very few people have the courage to start answer writing in the month of, say, November, right? So they want to start early. So in the November, by December, January, you want to shift to prelims preparation. So the super core batch will give you that opportunity before February to improve every aspect of answer writing in all 4 GS papers and essay paper, right? And I keep taking this orientation, not orientation, the interactive session every month for all the core batches. So one thing I have realized, the ongoing core batch, which we started this year, in the very first month, they had written like once in 3 days, they had written tests, around 3 to 4 full-length essay tests, at least 2 ethics tests, and around 7 GS tests in a month, right? So that amount of practice, as we were discussing in the earlier part of this session, is impossible to do on your own, right? So it is very difficult, without joining a test series, to write full-length essay tests, 3 to 4 in a month, right? Or full-length ethics test. I keep telling people, if somebody asks me how to improve my ethics answers, I tell them, you choose last 10 years ethics case studies. So there are 60 case studies. So I tell them, put 6 case studies as one paper and try to answer them within 1.5 hours or maximum 1 hour 45 minutes. So if I tell it to 100 people, hardly 2 to 3 people do it, like less than 5 people. It is always the case, right? So when listening, they listen, yeah, it works. They think that, it will work, so I will do it coming Saturday, Sunday, but very few people do it. Similarly, the CSAT, right? So the CSAT, since prelims, since we again saw another version of CSAT paper this year, and another category of students who were so complacent that they were good in mathematics, they were good in aptitude, they could solve any kind of aptitude paper, so who failed shockingly, right, in CSAT paper. So came and admitted that, it is because of their ignorance or some kind of arrogance in some cases, that I'm already good in CSAT, so they didn't do any kind of practice for CSAT. So for that category of students and other category of students who had that fear of CSAT since the beginning, I told them from July itself, you start solving full-length CSAT papers. At least once in a week. If you're really weak, if you're really scared about CSAT paper, 2 in a week. The same people come and tell me that, they don't find time to do CSAT, right? Somehow they keep pushing it forward, they have this inner resistance, right? Unknowingly, they keep avoiding these kind of things. So I believe the super core batch will take care of that problem also, because me like an alarm clock once in a month, right, will come and prick you again and again that you are going to fail in CSAT, right? So do CSAT papers regularly, right? So if not everyone, the numbers will slightly increase, So one will start and another one will follow, few more will start doing it. So here, because you people are slightly ambitious compared to rest of the competition, because you wanted to be part of this super core batch, I call it ambitious because, it is very difficult to follow the timetable. It's very, very difficult, right? You wanted on your own such kind of timetable to follow by yourself. So there is an institutional timetable. Again, there will be an accountability measure also. You will be accountable to me, your mentor. Fortunately, the numbers are always less in the super core batch. Going forward, within like 4 or 5 weeks, we will grow familiar with each other, right? So I encourage you to bring your essays on a regular basis, not just the ones you write in the classroom, but also the extra practice you do, right, outside the classroom. So I encourage that particular mindset of taking an initiative and doing extra practice in everything you do, right. So don't be just satisfied with what you are doing in the classroom, all the tests. At least in case of essay and ethics, till December, try to do more of it, right. So I'm sure you are taking care of your optional also. So what is your position with respect to optional? You have started answer writing, all of you? Everyone? Anyone who is yet to complete optional in terms of making notes or taking coaching? So everybody has completed optionals. That is excellent. Have you started answering previous year papers in optional? Like how many years you have done? Yeah, fine. Okay, 2013 to 2021. Now, like how many years of questions you have answered already? Conceptually, how many subjects you have completed? How many concepts? Oh, very good. Which optional? Good. So what about others? You, Jayant? Okay. So my sincere suggestion, by December end, minimum 10 years of your previous optional question papers, right? You have to not only practice, you should try to get the best content for every question. I mean, create best content by referring to standard sources. So not just the toppers notes or any classroom notes. So again, this year, I've been telling this for past 3-4 years that in optional, if you want to have the advantage, now what is the scenario in optional? Now UPSC is trying to equalize all optionals. So trying to create level playing field where it's very difficult to have some kind of advantage in any optional. Like earlier times, people used to score 320, 330, 340. So that happens, but it has become an exception now. Like in every optional, there are only 1 or 2 people who cross that kind of threshold, right? Majority scores, even in the toppers, marks are 250 to 280 range it will be lying in. So if you want to be that exception, in my opinion, so there should be a good amount of originality, creativity, and sourced from the standard sources, the content examples, right? So if everybody follows a similar material, there is chance that you will definitely get good marks like 260 to 70 if your concepts are clear, if you remember everything well. But if you want to have little extra advantage, right, you must go through standard sources. Every optional has your own standard textbooks, maybe foreign authors or Indian authors, right? So definitely refer to them, but that you have to do, like, not like topic wise approach, but through previous year questions. Whatever topic is covered in last 10 years or more than last 10 years, for every topic you have very good material ready, your own. That is something unique to you. So you create illustrations, diagrams, case studies, charts, flow charts, mind maps, whatever it is, but try to do it. So this I am telling here because it is difficult to become a topper without having little advantage in your respective optional. And you have to cross the 250 to 260 marks minimum, right? So just gaining advantage in GS and essay papers without any advantage in optional is not going to help. So there is always this problem, some people will give extra, more time to optional or more time to GS or essay. You need to balance it, right? So in the super core batch, what happens? You will be involved in GS, studies again and again. Somehow you have to find 3 to 4 hours every day for optional as well. So don't ignore optional. So my suggestion, every weekend you maybe on daily basis you can prepare these previous year questions. Every Saturdays or every Sunday you write a test of optional on your own. It can be a test series or it can be same previous year question paper, compiled as a question paper, topic wise or whatever it is. So try to write coming to classroom. So you should come to classroom, based on memory you should write it. So once by say end of January you have this confidence. So the super core batch will give you confidence with respect to essay, ethics and GS papers, especially ethics and essay. And optional if you gain the confidence. So 1000 marks you have the confidence before January, right? And that means before prelims, but before, well before the prelims, well before the mains. So it is very easy to take off from this position after prelims, right? So you won't have that lag period, you know. So that is what I have observed. People who are in the core batches who does this kind of regular practice, for them in the I will test series or any mains test series that you will be joining. I think I will be part of this program. It will be very easy to take off. So what do I mean by take off? So you will be writing more than 15 answers in your very first test. So those who come and join the I will or any mains test series for the first time after prelims, they usually write 6 to 8 answers, right? The similar problem you will face in the super core batch also. So in your first test, if at all this is going to be something for the first time you are writing. So out of 10 answers, you will hardly write 3 to 4, right? Some will try to stretch 6, but the quality answers you will be writing will be 2 to 3 only. So that won't be, so I mean, don't worry about that, okay? So don't start worrying about that. People come and tell me, in the first test I could write only these many. You have to give yourself time like at least 1.5 months. So gradually you will see improvement in the number of answers you write. So that will gradually, naturally will happen, right? Every test your focus must be on the quality, right? So if you are selecting out of 10 questions, if you are selecting, let's say 5 answers, 5 questions, so you should have in your mind a target of an average of 5.5 marks, right? So let's say like if it is 5 answers you are writing, 5 into 5.5, how much? Yeah, right. So that is the minimum marks you should be aspiring, whether it is 10 marks or 15 markers combined together, right? So some people try to get more marks by writing more questions, but end up scoring 3 marks, 4 marks in 10 markers. So 4 or 5 markers in 5 marks in 15 markers. So that doesn't serve any purpose. So here at least next 2 months, you have to make it a habit to write only quality answers. So now what is the definition of quality answer? Which answer you call it as quality answer? Okay, addressing the demand of the question, then structuring, substantiation, justification, good. Then data, facts, examples. Yes. So one point is very important, staying relevant to the question, meeting the demand of the question. Then quality answer, like you look at the answer and then you assess or you judge the candidate based on that answer. So you say that wow, this candidate has some X factor. Yes, present, everything you are saying is right, but even then the focus is not on that quality answer. Again, quality answer is different from perfect answer. So you should not be chasing perfection here. So you can never write any perfect answer here. So the quality answer is something, every question has 2 parts. The question has a topic part and then there is a directive part, right? So the directive words you are aware of. The directive words are all these, explain, elucidate, examine, comment, critically examine, analyze, critically analyze, discuss, critically discuss, justify, right? Enumerate, elaborate. So these are all the directive words that you see mostly at the end of the question, right? And then there is the topic part. And in some questions, there is topic plus there is context also, right? So they give the context as a statement and then there is the topic. From the context, they have the topic is the question has specific demand, right? And then the directive. So the directive word directs you, is giving you the direction, right? To keep your answer focused according to the demand as per the directive words. If it is examine, elucidate, elaborate, explain, right? Sorry, explain, elucidate and elaborate, it is more about, yeah, explaining the question, right? So you don't have to comment, you don't have to put your opinion, you don't have to put your way forward, you don't have to write challenges or anything. So basically the question has a hidden demand here. So you just have to explain with facts and examples. So you are not writing anything extra here, right? Enumerate, you are just enumerating the answers, like enumerate fundamental duties enshrined in the Constitution of India. Then there may be a second part to it, right? So something related to their applicability or their relevance or something like that. So the first part is you have to enumerate, just enumerate, nothing. You don't have to write comment or anything. So then there is the examine. So examine is examining very closely the question that you have been asked. So very closely in the sense that the examples must be very specific, right? You have to get into the details of the issue that is there in the question. So here again in examine you don't have to write comment or anything, but it is more than just explaining the concept that is there in the question. So explaining the concept is you are making easy for the reader, right? You are explaining with more details here, now with example, but here you are also exploring the other dimensions of the concept. So examining very closely. So analysis is examination plus opinion, right? So in the analysis what you are doing, you are breaking that issue into small parts, like multiple parts, because you are dividing it into parts, you want to do systemic evaluation, systemic examination of that particular issue. So in analysis, in discuss, there should be multiple parts in your questions. The question might have just a statement and discuss, right? Statement and examine or something, but in your answer there should be 2 to 3 parts, right? The analysis is you are also having your opinion. It can be a counter argument or opinion in every question. So when it comes to discuss, in discuss it is the holistic treatment of the issue that is there in the question. So the question is not asking challenges. You can briefly write the challenges. The question is not asking suggestions in discuss. So if you want to order them, order of importance, the explain is at the bottom, the discuss is at the top. So the discuss, the word discuss, you see more of the discuss directives in the most of the questions in UPSC, right? So less of others, like discuss is most of the times it is asked. So there you have to do the holistic treatment of the question, right? But it should be brief. So even when there is the discuss keyword is there, directive is there, there is always a core demand of the question, right? So the next step in this question is that the quality answer is first understanding the directive, right? And restricting your answer according to the directive word. So most of the people tend to write what they know rather than what is being asked in the question. So you are well aware of one of the keywords in the question or one of the concepts in the question. So you tend to write more about that concept or more about that keyword, right? So and less about other thing that you don't know about, right? Or you beat around the bush or you write some generic stuff and end your answer. So that shouldn't be done. So the directive word is demanding you to be specific. Secondly, allocation of weightage for every part, right? So if the question has like 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, if it is more than 1 part, you should know that to which part you need to give more weightage, more space in your answer booklet. So it is not equally dividing between every part. So that also many people have the mindset. So I will do positive equally and then negative equally, even if there are no negatives or flip side to an issue. So you try to do equal justice to that. So that should not be the case. So again, you should always go with the issue in the question. So the issue has more positive angle, more optimistic, like constructive angle. You spend more space, more words highlighting that particular aspect of it, right? Allocation of weightage is that, for example, if there is a question like define secularism, right? So do you think the secularism is under threat in India today? Discuss. So there are two parts in the question. Define secularism. Do you think secularism is under threat in India today? Discuss, right? So now to which part you will give more weightage? The opinion part. Do you think? So define secularism, what will you do? You will define secularism, right? So you have to define secularism both from the Indian and Western concept, the difference, and then give the example. Any definition must always be followed by the definition, example. Example is compulsory, non-negotiable, right? So then comes the main part. So do you agree that secularism in India is under threat? Discuss, right? So under discuss, first you have to give your opinion that do you agree or you don't agree, right? Again, here most of the people have the tendency to go with the question. Just because the question is asking, do you agree that secularism is under threat? You have this mindset to first justify that part. Yes, it is under threat, 4 points. No, it is not under threat, 4 points. And then way forward or something you give, right? So that should not be the case. So you believe that it is not under threat. So you can start with that particular line, right? So so the more space should be given to that. Within that more space, more weightage should be given to, right, based on the gravity of the issue, whether it is positive or whether it is negative. So here in these kind of questions, so stay on the positive side, right? And if the question is about, this tolerance and secularism, right, about certain core values of, Indian subcontinent. So if they are under threat, you say no, they are not under threat, right? In the end, after that you can, in a subtle way, you can write 1 or 2 points. So however, that part should come, but that should come in again like 20 to 30% of your answer, right? So what you can do, if the issue is very sensitive, put the blame on a book or an expert. So according to, right, a constitutional expert or a sociologist or somebody. So something like that. Okay. So and then in the end, because it is discussed briefly, you should write certain solutions, right? So how can we make it even more robust, or how can we make it more prone to any threats or something like this? Secularism, how can we further strengthen the secularism in the country? So in the conclusion, you write, end it on a constructive note. So basically the idea is here, first you have to understand the directive, the demand of the question, and then any keyword that is there in the question, you have to define and, yeah. So now let us say the question, in the question, the define secularism is not there. You minus that part. Now the question is, do you think secularism? So even then you have to define and give the example, right? So this is clear. Now there is something beyond these things in the quality answer. So that is introduction and conclusion. So now for the same question, if you are directly starting with secularism is XYZ, that is not your introduction, right? So for the same question, right, define secularism. So directly in the first line, you don't start with definition of secularism, right? Because there is another part of the question that is asking your opinion. The question is not just about definition of secularism. It is also about its relevance or threat to secularism and other aspects of secularism. So when question has more than one part, when question has more than one dimension, right? So you have to compulsorily write 1 or 2 line introduction. So in this question, the introduction should be again analytical. It should not be a mere fact. The fact is nothing but, again, when you define something, when you give a fact about, you will say that according to certain report in India, the religious tribes or communal events have increased manyfold. Good. That is still a context. That can be still part of the introduction, but that itself is not the introduction for this particular answer, right? So here in the introduction there should be 2 parts. One is the context part, second one is the significance part. Now what is the context of this question, right? So that you must write in the introduction. Why this question, why this issue is significant, right? and a brief hint about what is your stance, what is your opinion going to be with respect to the demand of the question, right? So combined these, if you write 2 lines, that becomes the best introduction. So people are recommended, people are told that in the introduction you should write definition, which is wrong, right? Definition is not introduction, definition is part of the answer, part of the body, right? Introduction is a window to your answer and also your way of thinking also, right? So by reading your introduction, I am coming to know whether, I mean, you are heightening the expectations, you are increasing my expectation that, so you are a thinking candidate, right? You are not merely reproducing facts from another source in your answer, but you are able to show that you have the in-depth understanding of the issue and you are able to communicate that, precisely, concisely, as per the demand of the question in its context and with its significance, right? It applies to every kind of introduction in every kind of answers, whether it is ethics or whether it is general studies, whether it is essay. So anybody writes example in the essay as part of the introduction, that introduction is wrong. That is not introduction, right? So people have the habit